Hello. Hello. If you ever called my cell phone, you'll know that that is my voicemail. Hello. Hello. Anyways, I'm not here to sing to you today. What I am here to do is share something with you. Something a little personal. Something that, something that I think is going to be supportive to you and something that I think is going to resonate with you. And one of the things that I try to do on here, on social media, is be super raw, super honest, super freaking transparent. And regardless of what I call myself, regardless of being a coach, regardless of being a mentor, I'm fucking human. And human beings face challenges. Human beings get triggered. Human beings make mistakes. And human beings get to take responsibility for all of those things that they face. And so this morning I had a humbling experience, and I want to share it with you because I want to show you how I work through my experiences. I want you to see how you can work through your experiences through learning and seeing me work through mine, because we are mirrors for one another. And again, we all get triggered and things are going to come up and we're going to make mistakes. And I think what's super important is to be able to take responsibility for those things. So let me give you a little background and tell you a little bit about what happened this morning. So this morning I found myself quite fiery, and I'm a Leo. I've got a lot of fire in me, but I was fiery in a little bit more of a triggered sense this morning. And I came across a post that someone put up that really, it triggered me. And this post was from a relationship coach who was talking about having permission to ghost someone when you feel uncomfortable or unsafe or ungrounded communicating with the person that you're dating because you fear how that person will respond because they may feel rejected, right? And so there's this fear of communication because of the way that person may react and respond. And this relationship coach was talking about ultimately giving permission to the person, right? Let's just say me, right? Let's say I went on a date, and let's say it was the second or third date, and I'm feeling uncomfortable telling this person I'm not interested because I'm afraid of the response. I'm afraid of them feeling rejected and afraid of the way that they will respond because they feel rejected, okay? And this relationship coach was saying that in that situation, it's okay to ghost someone. And it really irked me. It really really lit my fire up. And the reason why, I'll go into the reason why, right? But what I did is I ended up getting really frustrated and fiery, and I recorded an Instagram story. And on this Instagram story, I was talking about why I don't agree with that. And one of the things that I said was that was wrong. And after I posted that story, I was like, ooh, that didn't feel good. It was very reactive, and I was telling somebody that they were wrong. And I had to check myself. I had to take a pause for a minute. And I had to take a step back and recognize that this person's not wrong. I just disagree with this person's perspective. And that's okay, right? We get to disagree in any way, shape, or form with people in our world. And I think that we live in a society that tends to look at disagreement as bad. And yes, it can be confrontational, but it's not bad. It's actually a really beautiful thing because it shows you that you have a difference in opinions. And to be able to talk about that is super beautiful. Anyways, so I posted the story, and then I was like, oh shit, that really didn't feel good. And so I then posted another 2 stories and was explaining myself as to why it wasn't necessarily wrong, but why I actually disagreed with it. And I just like kind of felt a little bit embarrassed and like ashamed of myself for what I had said and for how I had expressed that like this person was wrong. And I was like, I would never talk to my client like that. And I didn't like it. And so I ended up like deleting the story. And I was like, okay, what do I do with this energy? This frustration, this like fire, this reactive energy. So I went and I moved it and I went to dance. And I went to movement mass today. I got to dance. I got to move this energy through my body. And multiple times in the dance, I found myself like really feeling into this frustration, feeling into this fire, and just like really shaking it out, or like banging on the ground, or like stomping my feet. And it was really beautiful because I got to move that energy through. And after I moved this energy, I got to sit again with my reactiveness. And I got to sit with my actions earlier on, saying that this person was wrong, and feeling super fucking triggered. I was like, okay, like, why did I feel triggered? Well, there's multiple reasons why I felt triggered. One, I disagreed with her. Two, I was just kind of like, well, this is the problem, that we're telling people that it's okay to not communicate. One of the problems in society that I see. And when I went a little bit deeper, right, instead of pointing the finger out at everybody else around me, I took a minute and I pointed the finger back at myself. And I was like, okay, why am I triggered? Like deep in me, why am I triggered? And what I realized was that I haven't been meditating much this week. And meditation is a very supportive modality for me to sit with my reactivity, to sit with my mind, to sit with my thoughts, and to not react, right? And that's one of the misconceptions I think with meditation, is that people are like, oh, I can't turn my brain off. It's not about turning off your brain. It's about noticing what comes up and not reacting and responding to it, and being able to identify it, be with it, and then let it go. Right? It's kind of like the whole analogy of like cars passing by you, right? Can you watch the car pass by you without following the whole car all the way down the road? And that's kind of the concept of meditation. Same thing with like the clouds in the sky. Can you watch the cloud pass by without grabbing onto the cloud and following the cloud? So I realized that I get to take responsibility for the fact that I am feeling reactive because I'm not doing the things to keep me grounded. So taking responsibility for myself, number one. Number two, having compassion for my reactivity. And understanding, like, why did I react? Like, why was I so frustrated? And why did that irritate me so freaking much? And what I got to sit with was that this concept of voids becoming values. And a void is something that you usually see growing up in your life that you don't agree with, that doesn't feel good, something that you don't want in your life. And oftentimes what happens is we usually see these in our parents, we usually see these in society, in the world around us, and we say, no, we put our foot down and we say, I'm not doing that in my life. This is not going to be a part of my existence, right? This is not going to be a part of my experience. And so what do? You shift that void into a value. And now that void becomes a value of yours, and that value is something that you're so passionate about, that you feel so strongly about, that ultimately drives you to react and respond and to interact with life the way that you do. And so what I realized is that communication is, and I know this, communication is a very, very high value of mine. It is probably my number one value in my life. Like, that is saying something, right? Communication is so important to me. And I didn't see a whole lot of communication as a little girl. It wasn't a regular part of my experience. I didn't see my parents communicate well. There was a lot of yelling and screaming in my household. I didn't know how to communicate well because I wasn't seeing it. It wasn't exemplified to me. And I get really frustrated when I see people not communicating. And I try really hard to create a space for more optimal communication, for safer communication, for nonviolent communication, because I know the benefit that it yields, right? It allows someone to feel calm, it allows them to ground their nervous system, it allows them to heal, it allows them to grow. And when you communicate with someone, You actually get to be this mirror, this reflection for them to see what's possible in communication, right? And also to see and look deeper within themselves and to look at areas that may not feel good or maybe they want to shift and change, to reflect on themselves. And so I was feeling this morning frustrated because I was feeling like this person who is a relationship coach was giving permission to people that are reading this article, giving permission to them to not have to communicate. And I really disagreed with that. And it's not wrong. It's just a perspective. And I get to honor the fact that her perspective is different than mine and that my perspective is different than hers. And I still get to be with what I feel is best for me. That doesn't mean I need to react and respond to the thing that I disagree with, right? And so for me, I deeply, deeply, deeply believe in the power of communication. I know how healing it can be. I know how much growth comes through communication. And in this article, she was discussing, as I mentioned earlier, how if you're on a date with somebody and you feel uncomfortable communicating that you no longer want to see this person because you fear how that person's going to react and respond towards you, and if you feel unsafe about that, then you can just ghost them. And I want to make a couple of points here. Because, first of all, in my opinion, there's a difference between feeling unsafe in an experience and feeling afraid of communication, right? For being afraid to speak up, to use your voice, to set a boundary, to communicate where you're at and how you feel. Now, if you're actually afraid for your physical safety, right? If you're afraid that somebody's going to put their hands on you, that somebody's going to hurt you, then that's a little bit of a different situation, right? If you're actually afraid for your physical safety, that's one thing. But if you're afraid to speak up and to use your voice and to set boundaries, that's another thing. And I do not believe personally that actually gives you permission to ghost someone because you're afraid of speaking up and communicating. And so the other point I want to make here is that if you've been relating with somebody, a friend, a partner, a business partner, whoever it is, and you've had multiple exchanges, multiple experiences. Let's just use dating because this is what we're talking about here. If you've gotten to a point where now all of a sudden you're feeling some sort of dysregulation or fear, or let's use the what she said of being unsafe, right? Not for your physical experience, not for your physical life, but feeling unsafe in communicating. And you've gone on 2 dates, 3 dates, now you're on your 4th date or your 3rd or 4th date and you're like, ooh, I don't know if I feel good communicating this. Well, to me, that's a sign that there have been boundaries that have been crossed leading up to that point, right? Like smaller boundaries that have been crossed. That's also a sign to me that you may not be tuned in to your values, that you may not be tuned into what your needs are. You may not be tuned into what actually you want and desire and what feels good for you. And likely that you're not communicating that with this other person. If you're now at the point where you're like, oh my God, I don't feel good saying this, I feel unsafe. Again, not unsafe for your physical life, right? For your physical health. And I think that this is a problem. And this is something that I see all the time in my clients. And this is one of the things that I love to help people with. Is I love to help people tune into themselves and get connected with, like, what do they want? What feels good for them? What are their values? What are their boundaries? And how do you communicate that to the people around you in a nonviolent way? And if you do communicate that, and the person around you does not respect it and starts to dishonor or disrespect that boundary, then yes, I believe you have a right to block, to walk away, to ghost, if you want to call it ghosting, whatever you need to do to keep your space sacred, to honor your value and your boundary. But I think we live in a world where we're not being taught how to connect with ourselves. We're not being taught how to connect with the things that feel good for us. We're not being taught how to use our voice, how to speak our truth. We're not being taught how to connect with our values. You're not being taught how to listen to our bodies, how to listen to what's a yes, how to listen to what's a no, right? And we're not being taught and shown super optimal communication, right? Oftentimes there's backlash if you disagree with someone, or you're wrong if you disagree with someone, right? And that's where I took responsibility for myself earlier. Nobody was wrong. We just have a disagreement, right? And that's okay. Like, disagreements are beautiful. But communication is so, so, so important. And through communication, you get to heal. Through communication, you get to learn. Through communication, you get to grow. And if you're opting out of communication, not only do you lose out, but the person involved in that conversation also loses out. They can't learn if you're not communicating with them, right? If you're not telling them and expressing to them what doesn't feel good for you, they actually can't know and learn what to do so that it does feel good for you, right? If you don't tell them what your no is, how can they know what your yes is? They literally can't, right? It's just like, if you don't ask, the answer is always no. Well, if you don't share what's a no, it can't be a yes. And so I say all this because I want you to see me work through my process. And I'm a human being, regardless of whether I'm a coach and I support people. I'm a human being and I make mistakes too. And I made one this morning. And what I really wanted to portray here is that it's okay to make mistakes. And being able to learn from your mistakes and being able to reflect on what happened, how it made you feel, why you felt this way, what maybe you're not doing that lead you to feel this way, and how you can take that responsibility and show up in a way that allows you to be a leader, that allows you to show others what's possible. And so I want to invite you into this kind of work, because when you can take responsibility for these things, and when you can like zoom out and be the observer and look at the situations in your life, how you reacted and responded, how they made you feel, how you could have done things differently in a way that maybe wasn't as violent or wasn't as aggressive, maybe in a way that didn't lead you to raise your voice, maybe in a way that actually allowed you to ground your energy and speak your truth. That's how we step into beautiful relationships. That's how we step into a life that isn't reactive, that actually feels good, right? That's how we create experiences that are aligned with our yes. That's how we set boundaries so that we don't allow the things that are a no. And so, communication, coming back, communication, in my opinion, is the number one most important thing in life. And you can look at this in any way, shape, or form. You might be someone that's like, spirituality is the most important thing, God's the most important thing. Okay, great. And there's communication in that, right? If you're listening and you're communicating, maybe you're speaking back, maybe you're speaking to God, maybe you're allowing God to speak to you, right? There's still at the root communication here. Think about your partnership, right? Your marriage. Like, communication is what holds the foundations of life together. It's what holds relationships together. Communication is what allows you to experience pleasure in your life, not just sexually. Like, pleasure gets to be experienced in every aspect of life. And a lot of clients come to me and they're not feeling pleasure. And it's like, okay, let's look at why you're not feeling pleasure. communication with yourself. Really getting clear on the things and having that hard conversation with yourself. What are you allowing that's leading you to not feel pleasure in your life? And so this morning, I wasn't feeling a whole bunch of pleasure. And that's okay. I got to be with that emotion, and everything's not always going to feel fucking good. Like, sorry to break it to you. It's just not. You're human. But it's a matter of how are you navigating the uncomfortable feelings? How are you navigating the things that don't actually feel good for you in your life? Because shit's going to happen. It's going to hit the fan. There's going to be ups and there's going to be downs. You're going to end up in the trenches of the darkness sometimes. But how do you communicate? Here's our friend here, E. Grangeline, says, I love this. Communication is a core value of mine too, and I'm realizing I've had terrible inner communication resulting in missing outer communication, and I love your mug. Yeah, my mushroom mug. It's so true. And I love what you bring up here, because we are talking about this communication, right? And there's this concept, right? The universal concept that speaks about as what happens within is going to be reflected in the world around you. And everything, in my opinion, always comes back to self. Everything, in my opinion, always comes back to that connection and that ability to communicate with yourself, to listen to your body, to communicate with your body, to understand those values, to understand what your yes is, to understand what your no is, right? And the way that you're treating yourself, the way that you're communicating with yourself is going to reflect in your relationships. It's going to reflect in your relationship to others. It's going to reflect in your relationship to your business. It's going to reflect in your relationship to your families, to your children, to your business partners, like anything and everything in your life. If you're finding that like you're having these experiences that don't feel good, that aren't bringing you pleasure, if you're finding yourself in those experiences where you're feeling unsafe in any way, shape, or form, if you're feeling uncomfortable, right? It's not about avoiding the feeling. Feel the feeling and recognize the feeling, but also get to the root and understand, why is this feeling coming up? What are you allowing? What is the communication happening within you that's leading you to a place that doesn't feel good, that's leading you to this experience of resistance? Like you get to feel good. Life gets to feel good. And again, it's not always going to feel good, but there's a difference between living life with ease and having things be easy, right? You can be in a place where things don't feel good and still live in a space of ease with yourself, knowing that you're on the right path, knowing that you're honoring yourself, knowing that you are worthy, knowing that the relationships and the experiences in your life, like, are fucking aligned for you. Like, they get to be. And if things aren't feeling good, you get to look at why, and you get to create changes. Like, you're never stuck. You never have to be where you are. And again, this comes all the way back, let's circle it back around, to communication. And so I just shared with you this whole process of me working through my trigger today. And me taking responsibility for the thing that I did, that I ended up sitting there and being like, ooh, that was a no, didn't feel good for me. I did not like the way that I reacted. I did not like the way I responded. And I got to be with it. Right? So I want to invite you into looking at these areas of your life where maybe you're being reactive, or maybe you're responding in a way that you're walking away and being like, ooh, I could handle that better, right? I invite you to look at your relationship with yourself. I want to invite you into taking responsibility for the things in your life that don't feel good, that aren't feeling aligned. Because the only person that's going to create change is you. That's it. Nobody else is coming to save you. Nobody else is going to be your superhero. You get to be your own superhero. And so, like I just shared with you, you can look at these situations in life that maybe you're showing up in a way that isn't fully aligned. Maybe you're showing up in a way that's not your fullest and your highest self. Maybe you're not showing up in a way that's communicative and grounded and supportive and kind and compassionate. And you get to look at it. You get to look at your shit. Because we all got shit. And there are these bricks in our backpacks that we carry around because of the experiences that happened earlier on in our life. And we become reactive oftentimes when we don't look at those bricks that are in our backpack, right? Like, think about it. If you're carrying this backpack full of bricks up a mountain, it's freaking heavy. Eventually you're going to be like, oh, like, I'm done with this. Like, I don't want this anymore, right? And so in the work that I do with my clients, we get to look at these bricks. We get to look at what's weighing you down. We get to look at what's creating this resistance in your life. We get to take responsibility. I get to support you. Not we. This is you. I love you, but this is you. You get to take responsibility for the ways that you're acting, for the ways that you're thinking, for the ways that you're behaving, for the habits that you're engaging in. You get to take responsibility for your relationships, for your communication, for the way that you show up, for your feelings and your experience every single freaking day. And when you can start to take responsibility for these things and look at them from an observer perspective, oftentimes when you can have this unbiased reflection from another person, right, so that they can express back to you what they're hearing, it allows you to see things from a different perspective. And when you can see things from a different perspective, you can create more impactful change, right? I sent out an email today, and I like to talk about this like hat analogy, but I used an outfit analogy today. If you don't try on the new outfit, you have no idea how you're going to feel in it, right? And so same thing kind of applies here. It's like, if you don't have the reflection, the perspective from someone else of what they're hearing from an observer perspective, and if you don't take the step back and look at things from an observer perspective, you can't actually see what's possible for you. You can't actually see another option or another way and another choice. So today, my ability to hit the pause button, to take a step back, and to actually look at the way that I reacted, the reasons why I was triggered, how I responded, until I had the ability to take responsibility for those things. Jared. Until I had the ability to take responsibility for those things, like I couldn't do something different. Right? And this is where we get to learn as human beings. Like, you're going to make mistakes. It's going to happen. Again, you can't avoid it. You can't avoid the discomfort. And when things get harder, when you become reactive, you get to look at, oh, okay, that was a whole thing. Didn't feel good, didn't like it, wasn't aligned for me. What can I do differently next time? How can I learn from this? Right? And when you brush it under the rug, you keep falling into the same patterns. You keep doing the same habits. Right? If nothing changes, nothing changes. Yeah. You can't read the label from inside the jar. You have to step out of the jar to see what's inside. Right? I always come back to, like, I love this because 4 years ago now, I moved away from my hometown. And I knew that there was so much happening in that experience that was keeping me in a place that I felt stuck and that I really wasn't feeling like myself and like I wasn't feel good. Jared says you can't get inside if you're already inside. True, right? Like, there's also the thing that I say, like, you can't find your shit unless you lose it first. Like, you gotta lose your shit in order to find it, right? Like, there's this separation, right? There's a degree of separation that is required to oftentimes see the thing that you can't see because you're in it. And so when I moved away from home, I was like, oh my God, like, holy shit moment. I was like, that is why I haven't been feeling good. That's why I've been stuck. That's why I've been sick. Like, literally having chronic immune symptoms. Jared says, unless you never had shit in the first place. I wish that was the case. Unfortunately, we all got that shit. I love you, Jared. So, this is where having somebody in your world to be able to reflect to you from a very unbiased place can be so supportive, because it can help you see the shit when you're in it that you can't see because you're in it. And so this is why I love to do what I do, because I love to just like be this space to reflect back to others and help them work through their process, like I just worked through with you today and expressed and explained to you how I worked through, so that they can see from outside the jar, right? So that they can opt into something different because they see something different. And so whatever you're navigating in your life right now, whether, and I want you to just think about it for 1 second. Like, I want you to think about your relationship with yourself. I want you to think about your relationship with others. I want you to think about your relationship with work. I want you to think about your mental and emotional health. I want you to think about your physical health. Think about your relationship with all these things. Maybe your relationship with your family. What doesn't feel good? Thinking about your relationship with God, with Source, with Spirit. Your home life. What doesn't feel good for you in your world? What are you being reactive to? What's not feeling aligned? What's not lighting your freaking soul on fire? Just think about it. Those things that are not lighting your soul on fire, you are allowing these things. Like, the hard truth is that you are allowing these things in your world. You're not setting boundaries. And if things aren't feeling good, how do you make them feel good? There's all these steps to get here, right? I'm giving you the overview here. I have an awesome little freebie coming out, actually. We're going to say in the next week that is going to help you with working through this. If you're interested, send me a DM and I can make sure that you get this, because it's a beautiful workbook that I put together for you. Just like flowed through me yesterday, all on going from this place of resistance to this place of receiving. And this place of pleasure and enjoyment. And you get to make a choice of what you're allowing in your life. And so if there's something that you're finding in your world that's not feeling good, if there's something that is not bringing pleasure, Jared, of course it will work for you. Yes, this is for anyone and everyone that is interested in bringing more alignment into their life. But you get to make a choice. You get to make a change. And if you follow me, you probably know that I end the majority of my posts with "you always have a choice," because it is your choice. It's always your freaking choice. And again, if there's something that's not feeling good, where are you allowing it? Why are you allowing it? Where did you learn to allow that? And so we went on a little tangent. Love you too, Jared. Love you, brother. My Leo brother. Went on a little tangent today, but I hope that you can take my process today of working through my triggers. And I hope that you can see what it looks like to take responsibility for your reactivity and the way that you do respond, while simultaneously working with the feelings and the emotions and not ignoring them. How do you process them? How do you be with them? I went and moved it through dance. And I got to be with my frustration, my irritation, my anger, my annoyance. And I got to look at the roots and connect back with my whys. I got to look at the roots and connect back with my values, my intentions, and getting really clear and understanding why I reacted and responded the way that I did, why I was triggered, and how I can prevent myself from not being as triggered next time. Right? And I got to sit and look at what are the things that are in my life or that aren't in my life. Again, a lack of meditation this week that may have led me to that place. So I hope that you can take this experience. I hope that you can learn from this. If you're like, I don't know how to do this, I don't know where to start, there's things in my life that aren't feeling good, there's all this resistance coming up, and I don't know what to do with it, please reach out to me. Like, send me a DM. I'm here to talk with you, as any of you, at all times. And I'm here to help you work through it. I'm here to reflect back to you what I hear. And if there's any way that I can be of support to you in your journey, like, would be honored to hold that space for you. There's many ways that I work with clients in my world. One-on-one, in groups. I have tons of free stuff like I'm doing right now for you to help you reflect on yourself. I have this freebie that's coming out this week. And so if there's anything in your life that's not feeling good and you're like, I just would like somebody else's feedback and reflections of what they hear, I'm here for that. I'm so here for that. Because those reflections are what allow us to heal and grow. So, thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for reflecting on yourself. Because that's what happens in my world. I'm going to invite you to reflect on yourself. Because when you reflect, you can grow. And you can step into your power. And you can step into your confidence. And you can use your voice. And guess what? Your life becomes a whole lot fucking better. It feels great. When you can honor yourself, honor your worth, set the boundaries that you need to, and create an experience that is aligned for you. When I started doing this for myself, when I started diving deeper into my self-reflection, into my work, the amount of joy, the amount of pleasure, the amount of abundance, the amount of gratitude, the amount of freaking love that I experienced, not just for the people around me, but for myself, massively skyrocketed. I'm seeing all these hearts on here. Who's here? I think it's Grace. I love it. Mark's here too. And so you get to step into this. Whether you're a man, whether you're a woman, I'm here to support you. I have beautiful communities for my ladies that are interested in like stepping more into this and stepping into their power and honoring their self and their worth and their voice. If you're curious to learn more, send me a message asking me about Mirage. But you're doing a beautiful job. And I just want to remind you of that. Like, humaning is not easy. It can be really hard. And that's why having community and having a non-biased individual to reflect back to you can be so powerful. So I hope that you take me up on my offer. Please reach out to me. I am here to love you, to support you, to encourage you, to inspire you, and to keep nudging you forward when you hit those walls and you're like, I don't want to go through this. I got you. So, who are some mentors in your life? I have a lot of mentors in my life. I have a lot of beautiful friends. I have a lot of coaches that I work with that are mentors to me. There's always somebody very close to me that I always have a coach of some sort. I'm always paying somebody to hold that space for me because opting into that exchange, that financial exchange, it's very valuable, right? Because you're having this energetic exchange through finances that are saying, hey, like, I want you to prioritize the space holding for me. I want you to keep an extra eye on me, and I want you to just hold me as I'm moving through this. So I have many, many, many mentors in my world right now, financially, for speaking, for relationships, people that I'm paying. And then I also have some really, really beautiful friends in my world, partners in my world, that are supporting me. They're all mentors for me. I'm very, very particular and mindful of who I allow in my inner circle and who I allow to influence me. This is something that I work with my clients, is like getting really clear on who's in your inner circle, looking at yourself in the center of a bullseye. Like, what's here? What are you allowing closest to you to influence you the most? So, yeah, self-reflection is what will allow you to experience freedom internally, externally. It will allow you to drop into love, to abundance, to joy, to connection, all the things. So, with that being said, I am going to close this up Wow, I've been talking to you for 40 minutes. How does that happen? If you're feeling stuff coming up through this, go dance it out. Go move your body. Go for a walk. Go do something. I love music. It's such a beautiful way to connect with the feelings and the emotions and the experience, and like move it. Move it through you. Move it. Move it. Don't just sit with it. Don't just brush it under the rug. Move it. I promise you, it will change your life. So, if you're not following me, follow along. And I am here to support you with anything that you need. So reach out. Let me know what's moving through you. Let me know what's coming up for you. Let me know what's going through you. Let me know what hit. Let me know what resonated with you today. Like, I love the feedback. I love it because it helps me give you more of what you want. So tell me what you want. Tell me what I want, what I really, really want. So, okay, I'm gonna stop now. I love you guys. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Sending you love. Bye.